Massachusetts Bay Colony, by the name of Ann Hutchinson. Has anybody ever heard of Ann Hutchinson? What eventually happened to her and why? You know, remember from my class?
Didn't she get hung?
No, she didn't get hanged, but she was threatened with it unless she did what? They exiled her.
Yeah.
Why? Because her beliefs were different than the Puritans. One of the big misconceptions that Americans learn is that people came over here seeking religious freedom. No, they did not. They came over here so they could prevent religious freedom. And that includes the Puritan fathers who came here and set up Massachusetts Bay. If you thought differently than they did, you were likely to get exiled. This is Ann Hutchinson. However, there were a lot of non-Puritans here, and basically the worst thing that happened to the non-Puritans who were non-believers is that they just didn't have any political rights. They maybe couldn't own property or something. But Ann Hutchinson, she defied everything because she used to preach in her home. Well, she preached the gospel. She preached the word out of the Bible. What's wrong with that?
She was a woman.
She was nice and loud?
She was a woman.
She was a woman. She was considered to be an agent of the devil because women were considered to be nothing more than that back in colonial times. And so to have a woman preach the word, And so they kicked her out of Massachusetts. She owned the original building in that site. Obviously, this is back in 1646. Ann Hutchinson did not have that building. That particular building there was built in sometime after 1711. So after 1711, that became the Boston Bookstore. And it was at that bookstore they invented such things as the idea of paying royalties on books. Back then, when an author published a book, he would sell it to a bookmaker or bookseller. They would buy it outright, and they'd make all the profits. They said, no, we will share the profits with you. The more books you sell, the more profits you make. Another thing is a magazine that's still around to this day, the Atlantic Monthly, was established there and printed there. And the final thing about that particular building, I know there was one more thing that was kind of interesting. Well, it became the meeting place for the great writers of New England. That would include, I heard some of you mention the other day, you know, we had already talked about Hawthorne, right? But somebody mentioned Emerson and Thoreau and Louisa May Alcott and all these authors that even if you haven't read their works, most Americans are familiar with some of those big names. And they used to all meet there. So it was a regular, you know, round table of brilliant American minds. Now we're going to go down to King